Alright, so this is the end Mil Sharpener. The first thing we're going to need to do to set this thing up is you need to plug in an air hose into this air filter in the back. What this does is it provides air for an air bearing that'll support the end mill as it's being sharpened, and it makes everything run nice and smooth. Now, you have a basic 5C lathe collet that's held in a spindle. You can pull that out and load in an end mill the correct size. There's essentially 4 operations that we do with this machine: sharpening the flutes on the primary and secondary angles, and sharpening the end of the end mill on the primary and secondary angles. In order to sharpen the flutes, the first thing we need to do is set up this stylus so it just rides under the outside edge of the end mill. You want to make sure that the stylus is rocked all the way forward, as it can rock like that, and tighten that knob, which determines the angle, and then tighten the second knob when it's sitting in the correct position under the outside edge. In order to set the grinding wheel up, you need to run the grinding wheel so that the very corner of it is lined up right next to the stylus. So now we're ready to grind the primary angle on the end mill. In order to do this, take the end mill, rotate it along the stylus, back the feed knob into the side of the flute until it just begins to spark. And then pull. There's a rotating collar on the back, which makes pulling it a little easier. In order to reset the end mill in the correct position, you want to push this lever down, which will back the grinding wheel out of the way, allow you to reposition it. The second operation we can perform is sharpening the secondary angle of the end mill. To do this, with the stylus in the same position it was before, turn the angle knob and back it all the way to the second position. And now, follow the same procedure as before and sharpen the secondary angle. And that's a bit too heavy of a cut, but it gets the idea across. The third thing we can do is to sharpen the end of the end mill. What we need to do is get the stylus all the way out of the way. On this back, we have an indexing collar with numbers going around the circumference. The numbers indicate the number of flutes for the end mill you want to use. In this case, we have a 2-flute end mill, so we want to grab the number 2 and slide that under this pin here. Now we want to position the end mill so the end of it is roughly horizontal. I say roughly because you can't really index it other than to eyeball it. Tighten this little brass set screw here, and now the end mill is indexed with the collar. Turn the machine on, run the feed knob so the grinding wheel is positioned over the end of the end mill, and then turn the cross feed knob until it just begins to spark. Use the feed knob to feed across. And that's how you sharpen the primary angle of the tip. In order to sharpen the secondary angle, all you have to do is take this handle here, drop the end mill all the way down, and run it again. It's going to be a slightly different position, so you will need to readjust the cross slide. And that's all there is to it.
You can back everything up to get to the okay.